Good morning, happy Monday. Join Jackie on 10 o'clock on Mondays. So today I'm talking about preparing to retire and get an aged pension. Now the aged pension I'm talking about is a Centrelink pension. You can obviously convert your super from accumulation mode to pension mode. And it's not something that is means tested because that is your pension, your super that you've put away. But if you're also applying for an age pension from Centrelink, either as a top up to your own pension or as your primary source of income, you need to be aware of a few things. So the first is the asset test. So if you're applying for a Centrelink age pension, they will look at your assets. Your principal place of residence, your house, is not counted as part of those assets. If your principal place of residence, however, is on a farm, they will only not count the house block and they will still count the rest of the land as an asset. So you need to be conscious of the asset test, and there are assets up to a certain amount to get the full pension, and then it's fairly generous really with you owning assets to get a part pension. And for a lot of people, a part pension is the main thing that you need to be able to qualify for the pension card, which gives you the concession rates for your regos, your council rates on property you own, and a whole lot of other discounts that you can get. So asset test is the first one to be conscious of. The income test is your other test. Now this is not usually a problem for people who are wanting to get the pension, because the reason they want to get the pension is to have an income. If you have a pension from super as well, that gets counted towards your income test. So if you're getting $1,000 a month from a super pension, it will lower the pension that you get from Centrelink, but you may still qualify. So the asset test though is the one that tends to trip most people up, not just the income test. So what what some people are conscious of when they're coming up to retirement age to apply for a pension is to start offloading some assets so that they are under that asset test, so they will qualify at least for a part pension to get those concessions. Now, if someone is offloading assets, they need to do it at least 5 years in advance. And even then, it's not a guarantee that Centrelink won't look back further and say, well, you've done this just to make sure you get the pension. But most of the time, if you've done it over 5 years ago, you don't have to necessarily disclose it to Centrelink. The 5-year rule is the gifting rule that Centrelink has. So Centrelink deems you to have kept an asset even if you've offloaded it for a period of 5 years. The reason they do that is because they want to make sure people do it for the right reason and don't just offload assets within 6 months to 12 months before coming up to qualifying for pension age. So this is particularly relevant for people on farms, so restructuring the ownership around a farm. The person coming up to wanting a pension might have to look at moving farmland into farming trusts rather than keep that in their own name. So it is a legitimate succession planning process. The other thing that some may do to qualify for a pension or to make sure they don't lose the pension is if they can't live at home anymore and they have to sell their big house, which hasn't been counted so far for the pension because it's their principal place of residence. But when they get their $800, $1.5, $2 million for the sale of it, those assets are then going to be sitting in a bank or some other kind of investment, and they will be counted as assets, and they would push someone off being able to get the pension. So what some people can do is have a granny flat arrangement with a child. So if they can't live at home anymore and they are either moving in with a child, or they are having a granny flat extension put onto their child's house, or a bungalow in the back, or a second house built on a property, it doesn't come in the gifting rule with a legitimate granny flat agreement. So Centrelink recognises that an elderly person may pay a child to secure their accommodation and care for them for the rest of their life. And so offloading some money to a child to do those renovations, to add a bungalow, to do an extension, is a legitimate expense that will reduce the assets of the person, so that they may still qualify for a part pension even after the sale of their main residence. So there's a couple of things to consider for people coming up to retirement age. Firstly, looking at their own super and taking a pension from their own super and how much income that's going to get them. And then thinking about that income to the income test that you have with Centrelink. The second thing to think about is the asset test with Centrelink. Your principal place of residence is not counted as an asset. So having a look at what assets you have, and if you do need to offload any, to do it with enough time to still be able to qualify. And that gifting rule of 5 years is an important one to remember. So there you go. There's some tips and things to think about coming up to retirement age, or even for adult children to help their more elderly parents who've probably retired already potentially move from their house that hasn't been tested into another form of care arrangement. Now I come to you every Monday with a short snippet of legal information. Next Monday is Labor Day long weekend, so I won't be here. But from the Monday after, it will be consistent again all the way up to Easter. If there's any topics you'd like me to cover, please direct message us through Facebook or let us know via email. All these videos do get saved onto our Facebook page, so you can go to the Facebook tab with videos and have a look back through all the topics. If this is relevant for anyone that you know, you can tag their name in the comments and they will see it, or you can share it with them via direct message if it's more private. If you want me to elaborate any more on any specifics in what I've been talking about, again, let me know. Otherwise, I hope that was helpful on a Monday morning for our tips. And I hope you have a great week, and looking forward to a long weekend coming up at the end of the week. So take care.